Hello, hello, my fellow geeks. Welcome to episode number 52 of the Indian App Geek. My name is Vishal Mehra. Diwali is upon us, so let me begin by wishing all of you Shubh Dipavali. From paper tickets to QR codes, and now to a future where your face is your boarding pass, air travel has never been more sci fi. And yet, it's not science fiction at all. It is Digi Yatra for most of us in India. Today, on the Indian App Geek, I'm joined by the man steering this revolution in the skies, Suresh Khadakbhavi, the CEO of Digi Yatra Foundation. With over 2 decades of experience across telecom, IT, and aviation, he is the architect of a system that promises to make airports less about queues and chaos and more about seamless journeys powered by self sovereign identity and single token biometrics. Welcome to the Indian App Geek, Suresh. Happy Diwali!
Vishal, thank you very much and wish you the same.
Suresh, let's start from the very beginning. Tell me, how did you and aviation happen? What led you to doing what you are doing right now?
This is way back in 2007, and I had returned from a 3.5 year stint in Saudi Arabia. I was working for Saudi Aramco on a project based out of Riyadh. And after that, I had joined a company called as Trend Communications. This is in Mumbai. And I spent also 3 years over there. And in the meantime, aviation industry, as you might recall, during those times, aviation industry started to really open up. Airlines started to, or private airlines started to actually participate in the whole game. And we also had public-private partnership airports, which started at that time. And Bangalore International Airport was one of the first at that time. Uh, I got a call from the HR agency of Bangalore International Airport, and I said, "Okay, let me give it a shot." And that's how I landed at Bangalore attending an interview. Uh, and there was an incident which happened, right? And I don't know. On the day of interview, it was an early morning interview around 9:30 or 10 o'clock. The meeting was scheduled, and I flew in from Mumbai early morning flight, HAL airport. And at HAL airport, like a typical Mumbaiker, right? I'm a Mumbaiker, so typical Mumbaiker would take an auto. I mean, we do not prefer a cab, right? So I took an auto, and it had rained, right? And it had rained, and there was a lot of slush along the road, right? And I was with my tie and all that, with my laptop bag and stuff, sitting on the side. And I was just thinking, right, that okay, what if some vehicle, goes over this slush, and then what happens? And you won't believe it actually happened. And and it was like
Oh
crazy.
my.
My shirt and everything, I had a beige color shirt. Everything got muddied, and then I had the challenge of getting back in interview shape. uh, so so then what I started to think of was, okay, now how much time do I have? And it was early in the morning, right? And so I asked the auto guy, is there a shopping center nearby from where I can buy a new shirt? So the tie and all that went out right into the bag. And all the thoughts which I had in my mind also went, I don't know where, right? Then I was like frantically searching, and this was at Gayatri Lakefront under the Hebbal flyover. So this guy stopped me on this side of the railway track. I got down there, crossed over to the other side, took another auto. I told him I want to come back to the same place, but I want to buy a shirt in the meantime. So we went and was searching for shops where I can buy a shirt. Everything was closed. It was too early in the morning. Luckily for me, there was one shutter which opened up, and this was Peter England. I mean, I could see over there, and I went in immediately, asked him for a shirt, similar beige color shirt, and wore it there. and then came back. So I remember that day very vividly, right? And I still have that receipt in my pocket, right? So that was an interesting thing that happened. And then after that, the interview was like, uh, I think I spoke maybe for 10 or 15 minutes max, and then rest of it, my boss was speaking, explaining about the new public-private partnership airport and what it means and what it means for Indian aviation industry. And he was a visionary, right? So he was explaining a lot. And when he was explaining for such a long time, I thought that, in this 15 minutes that he asked me and I spoke, I think I got the job. And yeah, there I landed in Bangalore International Airport with a job.
And I hope you took the taxi back to the airport.
After
Continue
that,
at the
yeah, it was of, I mean, no consequence, right?
right.
Yeah,
So during your time at Bangalore International Airport, you were the AVP of the Innovation Lab.
yeah.
What sparked your interest or your passion for digital transformation in aviation?
So see, when I joined, I was a manager telecom. I was managing the IPPABX, the triple play basically, the voice, video, and data, right? And we were the first airport uh, in the shape and form, right, which is the public-private partnership airport. We were the first to actually roll out a completely different landscape for airport. I would say people who work at the airport, right? I mean, companies who actually provide services at the airport, be it the airline or the ground handler or the baggage handler. To everyone, we provided a platform where they could just come and plug in and, start their business. So that was something which we started. And from the manager telecom or from the manager communications to DGM handling, multiple portfolios, multiple sub verticals, like network, for example, IT security. So all these I used to manage. Uh, and that I think slowly sort of, I grew over a period of at least 7 years or so, eventually managing the Terminal 1 expansion IT deliverables, which was a massive project where we completely changed the backbone, the network backbone. We also got the first 4G infrastructure, the in-building distributed antenna system, so all that, right? And every time I used to look at all the airport processes with a different lens, questioning as to why this process is in this way. And every time we used to go with the management for a walkthrough of the airport, I used to suggest a lot of things, right? I mean, and that I think was something uh, which our management actually heard, and we had a happy problem as Bangalore International Airport. We had a very happy problem, which is year on year we had a growth rate of 20 to 25% in passenger traffic. And how do we manage that kind of a growth, right? I mean, we can go on expanding the building as much as we want to. However, it's not going to be the right way. So basically, the brick and mortar way of doing business would not work, right? The management started to also think that, there has to be a much more efficient way where maybe technology intervention, maybe innovation in processes could all help to manage this growth in traffic in a much more efficient way. So these ideas kept on, I kept on, like, sharing ideas with our management. And then luckily, we had this problem of year on year phenomenal growth. So then the innovation lab was formed, and our CEO Hari Marar, right? I mean, he said that, we need to have this separate department where we have got three different people. So there were three different people who joined me with the innovation in the innovation lab. Myself, another person named Sukumar Panda, and Sundar Natarajan. So three from three different domains. So Kumar Panda was from the aviation background, and Sundar was like, we used to call him as the wordsmith, who used to understand almost everything very well. So we all came together, looked at it from a different perspective, and that's how the innovation lab thing actually kick-started, looking at various processes at the airport with a completely different lens, right? And that's where the digital transformation journey of Bangalore International Airport also started. The innovation lab started from there on, and we did multiple transformative initiatives for the airport business. One of them was Digi Yatra.
While there, you were instrumental in shaping the passenger processes for Terminal 2, particularly during a period of rapid growth. Can you walk us through that transformative session, brainstorming session, where you first presented the concept of a passenger walking through all touch points with no one stopping them? What we now know became the foundation of Digiyatra, of course.
Right. So Vishal, what also happened was while we expanded the Terminal 1, and then it was called as the Terminal 1A, we still continued to have the same growth, right? Year on year, 20 to 25% growth in passenger traffic. So the plans for the new terminal building also started at the same time once the Terminal 1 expansion got completed. And during one of these workshops, I think it was in the year 2015, I would say in the first half of 2015, when we had a 3 day workshop where I was still with the IT team at that time. The innovation lab was not yet formed at that time. So we were all asked to participate in the workshop. And this was sort of a brainstorming workshop, and people from different domains were there, collectively thinking as to what best experience we can give to passengers. So the point was write a story of a passenger's journey in the new Terminal 2, a memorable journey, right? And what do you think of that journey? So, and everybody had to write a story and tell it out to the audience, basically. And for me, since I also read a lot about biometrics, and since I was from the IT domain itself, we were always thinking of how to enhance this passenger process. And Aadhaar was like also at that time almost with 1.3 billion user database, right? So we were thinking that, why can't face become, the boarding pass? And so I wrote this very simple story of passenger walking through all the touch points without being stopped for any document check, neither the travel document nor the identity document. So just go through all the touch points without being stopped, and then reach your boarding gate and board the flight happily. And this story I told, and there were so many other different memorable stories, memorable experiences, which you can see in the terminal too, right? Uh, and uh, basically, we were also put to vote, right? Each of these stories were put to vote. We are given some limited votes, and then we had to cast these votes. So we were given those red dots. So we put those dots on the initiatives that were listed. We got some 6 or 7 votes, I guess, and two of them were from me and my colleague from IT department. And then yes, I began to think that this is something which really is powerful, and we should try. And I began to talk to various biometric OEMs at that time, and the biometric piece was perhaps the easier one. But what was more important was how the passenger processing happens, which is the handshake with the DCS, where the travel document validation happens, right? So these things were to be closely knit within the whole ecosystem. And how does that happen? So that's something which we started to experiment, build prototypes, and we got a couple of them to actually build it with us. I think around 5 or 6 people we may have approached. Out of them, two of them were ready with a prototype, and that's when we actually went ahead in 2017 January. We actually rolled out the first pilot trial with Jet Airways.
How did you navigate the initial skeptics when this concept did not win majority approval? And what validation process convinced all the stakeholders that this was indeed the future of Indian aviation?
Yeah. So it took a long time doing that, right? And My management obviously was, convinced that this is something which certainly has value. And the pilot itself proved that, this is such a seamless process that passengers began to love it. When we spoke to security, the CISF, they were also very happy about this whole process because so much of the complex work, right, which is also perhaps prone to human error, was getting done digitally, meaning that there was lesser chance of an error happening. So what we did was we got all stakeholders involved. We conducted various workshops. We sought inputs from them as to what they need. We also tried to understand passenger requirements, right? We tried to understand the airlines requirement. Airports obviously wanted the airports to be much more efficient, and also give a superlative passenger experience, right? So from all those perspectives, each and every stakeholder was like having something in it, in this whole initiative. And due to which, what happened is that we gained a lot of support from all the quarters. When we called the regulatory authorities, the Ministry of Civil Aviation, they were all very happy with this whole process, because this was also a national problem, because this was something which everybody was trying to solve. How do you make these airports efficient? And that's how I think we did multiple workshops, a lot of prototypes. Many other airports also started testing, and then that's how we got consensus, and that's the way we went ahead with it. Because
Got it.
without the support of everyone, would not have been possible at all.
Like you mentioned, the pilot project was with Jet Airways back in 2017. What specific feedback did you receive from that pilot, Suresh, that gave you the confidence to scale this nationally? Were there any unexpected challenges or insights that emerged from working with airline partners?
So I think from a feedback perspective, when we were so what I used to do is we used to do only one flight in a day, in the morning, after the peak time is over, right? And what I used to do was I used to start from the airport entry gate, and we used to actually ask people to try out this new process, right? And I would walk with them from airport entry gate, and then and we had people who would guide them to the check-in counter to check in their bag using biometrics, and then also security check, and then finally boarding, right? And I would reach the boarding gate in time for the boarding to start, and once boarding gate would open, passengers in Digi Yatra using Digi Yatra would go through, and I would be on the other side. I would take video feedback from them with their consent, asking them as to what they felt about this whole initiative. And one of this lady, what she said was, she said that why do you have it only for one lane? Why is it only one flight? Why only one flight is operational here? Why can't you scale this up across the airport? Why can't you scale this up across the nation, right? And that I think was something which made us think that this initiative is something really big, and it's not just limited to a particular airport, right? And that's how I think the positive feedback that we got from various stakeholders was helpful in us taking this initiative forward.
Suresh, this is perhaps the most critical distinction our listeners need to understand. China's facial recognition systems are integrated with its social credit system, right? Where the same technology used at airports feed into a comprehensive surveillance state that the world knows about. And surveillance that can restrict travel, employment, social services based on behavioral scoring and so on and so forth. How fundamentally different is Digiyatra's architecture, and what specific technical and governance choices did you make to prevent mission creep into broader surveillance?
So first and foremost, right, we are not a surveillance ecosystem, right? We are completely decentralized, meaning that there is no central database of the Digiyatris. And if I were to elaborate it further, if you look at the way we have architected our solution, it is completely decentralized, where the user's personally identifiable information, which is in the verifiable credential, stays in their phone. And it is not with Digiyatra Foundation. So we go on record saying that we have got more than 16 million users, but we do not have any of their verifiable credentials, because it's not stored in any central location. And one of the reasons, or many of the reasons, what I can cite is like this. One is that if you keep a central repository, then it takes the hacker one effort, and then he or she can enter into our repository and steal de-risked that or mitigated that risk. There is no way that anybody can hack into our database because we don't have a database, right? So there is no database that we have. For example, if somebody were to, okay, let me explain it in a different way. You take the phone of the user, right? There is a wallet in the phone, which is the Digi Yatra app. In that wallet is a verifiable credential, right? So this verifiable credential is with the user in a secure wallet. Everything is stored, correct? So now the point here is, if somebody wants to hack into Digiyatra's user base, they will have to hack into these 16 million plus phones individually. That's how difficult it is. It's not available in any central location. And from that perspective, we take pride in saying that, we do not know you as a Digiyatri. We do not know your personally identifiable information. Uh, Vis-a-vis a centrally managed system, for example, right? If there is a managed system, all the data is stored in a central location, and then you can also do many other things, which is you could see how the behavior of that particular person is, right? Because you have everything is centrally managed. All the users, what do we say, traits or all the users behaviors can be recorded. Whereas we don't know any of the digiatries, and for us it is not important to look at any other aspect of the user. It is just about doing that transaction, which is for verifying your identity, and then along with the identity you validate your ticket or boarding pass, and then you go through, right? That I think is the most important thing for us. And yeah, that's how we are different from others.
Right. Now, this self sovereign identity model you're talking about is interesting. What you're saying is passenger data never leaves their device except for verification, right? But let's be brutally honest about the technical realities. You're still dependent on AWS cloud infra, and the verification process requires real time matching. Can you walk us through exactly what data touches external servers during a DigiYatra transaction and how this differs from China's centralized approach, where all biometric data feeds into national databases?
Correct. So ours is on AWS infrastructure. We are on the AWS cloud, which is hosted in India region, right? High availability and India region only. So there is no data which is processed also outside of India. That is one. Second is that we process the data. Like for example, you take the starting point, which is when you enter your Aadhaar number, you get the OTP, you enter the OTP, and then you get the Aadhaar eKYC data into your own phone. Aadhaar eKYC data has your face. Now, what happens is that you take your selfie, the selfie and your Aadhaar reference face are matched on our algorithm, right? It's a face matching algorithm. The face matching happens once the match is successful. A credential is created. Now that credential is it sits on your own phone. All the data in transit is encrypted, right? So while we use the cloud infrastructure, there is no data per se which is stored in any location. It is only processed and issued back with our signature. So Digitra Foundation just puts a signature, generates a hash value of the credential to ensure that there is no tampering that happens, and that's it, right? So there is no chance of any further. What do we say? I mean, there is no centrally located data, right? And since there is no centrally located data, we have eliminated the risk of data loss, theft, leakage, and pilferage. All.
Having transitioned from leading innovation at Bangalore International Airport to serving as CEO of the Digi Yatra Foundation, how has your perspective on passenger experience evolved, Suresh?
Yeah. So from the time I was in BIAL, right, I think the focus was always on customer experience. And that I think continues to remain the same, right? And unless and until you have that focus on the customer experience, perhaps nothing will click. No business would click unless and until you are solving a real problem for your customer. And what we basically do is a human-centered design thinking approach, where every aspect of our app, for example, right, we go through that process where it is intuitive for users to use the app, and also look at watch for the behavior of the passenger using the app at the airport. So many aspects go into it. So I think for us it has always been customer experience, and from the time uh, I started working at BIAL to Digi Yatra Foundation, right? CEO of Digi Yatra Foundation. I think the focus has always been customer. I put the customer in the center and everything else later.
We do know that Digi Yatra is built on some cutting edge technologies. There's self sovereign identity, there are W3C standards, blockchain technology, decentralized identifiers that you were just mentioning. For our aviation enthusiasts who may not be familiar with these terms, including myself, can you explain how this technological architecture ensures passenger privacy while enabling seamless travel?
Yeah. So simply put, what I can say is that we are a wallet provider. Like for example, if you went to a market and purchased a wallet, right? You may put any identity card into that wallet, right? But the wallet provider obviously does not know what is that wallet inside. So apart from being the wallet provider, we also provide those verifiable credentials, which are nothing but your soft identity cards. These are encrypted credentials which are stored in your wallet, and you have control over it. Meaning that when you are traveling to the airport, right? When you got a boarding pass, basically you share your boarding pass. Along with your boarding pass, what happens is this identity credential. When you upload your boarding pass, first step is when you upload your boarding pass, we match we match the name of the boarding pass to the name of the identity card, right? So that we ensure that it's the same person who's uploading the boarding pass. That's one. And then the identity credentials with the face and the boarding pass data are both shared by the user directly to the verifier airport. So if you're flying from Delhi to Bangalore, what basically happens is you initiate the conversation, which is from your app, DigiYatra app. You will initiate the conversation which says, "Hey, Delhi Airport, I want to share my credentials." And Delhi Airport responds back saying that, "Hey, traveler, please send me these data points." And then you send the data. So, meaning that who is in control here? When you say self-sovereign identity, it means that you, as the user, uh, is in full control of your data. You know to whom you are sharing this data. You know what is the data that you are sharing, and there is a purpose for that, right? Which is you want to be validated for identity and validated for your boarding pass or the travel document. Now, when you come to the airport, you get validated for these. You go through the airport and finally board the flight. Once that is done, within 24 hours of the scheduled time of departure of the flight, this data also gets purged from the airport. And how do we ensure, right? I mean, somebody may say that, airport may purge, may not purge. How do you ensure that? So what we do is we do certain audits. Certain empaneled agencies audit the entire Digiatra ecosystem, including the backend, the apps, and also the airport verifiers to ensure that everything is systemically done, right? And there is no chance for any leakage of data. So basically, all these audits ensure that the system is safeguarded in the way it should be, and there is no misuse of the data.
There's been some debate whether Digiyatra participation is truly voluntary, given that airports in Delhi, like the T3 and Bangalore, have allocated most gates to Digiyatra users, so creating longer queues for non participants. How do you balance operational efficiency with maintaining genuine voluntary participation, Suresh?
So first and foremost, it's completely voluntary. The enrollment in the app is on your own device. You have the right to install the app, uninstall the app, enroll right? Delete your credentials. Anything and everything is in your control. Now, coming to the airport itself, right? At the airport, what now every most of the airports have done is they have installed Digi Yatra capable e-gates, meaning that biometric capable e-gates across board, right? And the biometrics may be switched off for some of the gates which are operating manually. So you basically have Digiyatra e-gates and you have got non-Digiyatra e-gates, which is the manual scan your boarding card, show your identity card, and then go through the gate. And that I think is the only difference in the operations of it. And how do they allocate these number of gates? So basically, uh, the number of credentials that they receive, they know, right? And on the basis of their departing packs, they know that okay, 30% of my passengers are going to be on Digiyatra, and then 70% are going to be on non-Digiyatra. So the allocation of the gates happens on that basis. And as we continue to progress in this timeline, the number of Digiyatris are continually increasing, right? We got 16 million user base now. So it's continually growing. And I think that is something which airports sort of ensure to monitor and allocate the right number of resources for Digiyatra and not for Digiyatra, no, for non-Digiyatra as well. And
All right.
in the end, basically, it is also about the overall customer experience, right? That they are able to give. It's a balance between the two. So I think the airports are doing it very well, balancing the two flows for some time. And then over a period of time, what we assume or what we expect is that, the number of or the percentage of Digiyatris will increase rapidly. We are doing many things to ensure that, all these barriers, like for example, language barrier goes down. Digiyatra app will be available in multiple languages, etc. So many things we are doing so that the adoption increases.
Do you ever see a time when participating in Digi Yatra becomes compulsory in the country?
I don't think so, and this I feel because even the ministry also, right, has very clearly told us that there should be a pull factor, not a push, right? People should see the real value of Digiyatra and then get onboarded onto Digiyatra rather than somebody pressurizing them to use Digiyatra, right? So that I think is something which is a clear directive from our ministry as well. It will never be made mandatory. It is something which is going to be an optional, and it's more from a I would say leveraging the infrastructure and making optimal use of the infrastructure that we have, uh, other than anything else.
All right. Suresh, I was reading how you are currently working with IATA's One ID contactless travel working group. And I've mentioned plans for an international pilot project as well. Can you give us an update on that and share your vision on how DigiYatra might influence global aviation standards? Which aspects of the Indian model do you think other countries are most interested in adopting? I'm asking this because countries like Singapore, the UAE, and Thailand are implementing airport biometrics in so many different ways, right? I was reading some time back about how Dubai Airport has started this red carpet biometric service. Now, some of these guys use Chinese technology, others are having their own indigenous systems. When these countries look at Digiyatra as a model, what core principles do you emphasize as non negotiable for, what should I say, democratic implementation versus authoritarian deployment?
So I think consent, first and foremost, is consent, right? And without consent, there is nothing that is possible. So only if you want to use Digiyatra, please enroll, install the app, and then enroll, and then use the Digiyatra ecosystem. But if you don't, you are free to use the conventional paper boarding pass or the mobile boarding pass and the conventional showing of the ID card. I think that is something which is very clear. We are never going to force anyone to use Digiyatra. But coming to the international engagement itself, right? With IATA, we have been like speaking from a long time. I've been associated with IATA One ID program from 2017 on. Initiative began, which is the IATA One ID initiative began, and we have been doing a lot of brainstorming as to how can this become a how can the seamless and hassle-free process, become the common process across the world, right? And this is something which starts with e-passport based enrollment. So today, Digi Yatra enrollment happens with an Aadhaar, and also in the next month or so, you will also see a driving license based enrollment, and then maybe a few months down the line, you will also see an electronic passport based enrollment. So that's also work in progress. Uh, so electronic passport based enrollment means that anyone who has got an electronic passport, be it an Indian citizen or be it a foreign citizen, can enroll using the electronic passport. So the process is, on the Digiyatra app, you will get an option to enroll using electronic passport. You have to scan the first page of your passport, and then once that passport first page MRZ, machine readable zone, is read, you have to put the phone on your passport. Your passport will have an electronic chip, which is read through an NFC. And in the NFC, again, you have got the passport data plus your face. And we'll just do the validation check with the selfie, saying that, okay, it's the same person who's actually enrolling, and do the validation check with the face, selfie face with the passport face, create the credential. And this credential is something which, so the electronic passport itself is something which is a standard as per ICAO 9303, which is a global standard, right? And there were three different types of passports as well. So you enroll, and once you're enrolled, this electronic passport, electronic credential created using an electronic passport can also be used for identity validation, right? And this could be used to start with. You can say that, foreign citizens who, say, expats who are working out of India, can use it for domestic travel to start with. And then, of course, the big picture would be when you also allow that same credential to be used for actual border crossing, which is what you mentioned about Singapore, for example, or even Dubai, where you know that as you arrive into Dubai, you go through the e-gate, electronic gate, where you can just walk through. Even you don't have to scan your passport, right? So that kind of an experience is what we obviously can give, but it also does not end over there. So, for example, you are flying from, say Delhi to, say, Paris, right? So one of the process that you would have to do is at Delhi airport, where you go through all the various checkpoints, including the immigration, go through seamless using, say, Digiyatra, and then board the flight. And then what about when you land at Paris? When you land at Paris, obviously you'll have to wait for maybe an hour or 2 hours in the immigration queue. Right there also, you can have a seamless process. Instead of waiting in the 2 hour long queue, you can go through an electronic gate, which is an automated border control gate, and walk through that T gate, because you would have already shared your credential to the Paris airport as well. So that will help an end-to-end seamless travel, also Paris to Delhi, right? And not just for you as an Indian citizen, but also for any other foreign citizen as well. So that's something which is the eventual journey that we want to take. But yes, I think it would be some time before we get various regulatory authorities involved. We have just started initial discussions, and there will be a lot of work that needs to be done. It's a sensitive border crossing that we are addressing, so it has to be foolproof, right?
When do you think it can be implemented? What's the approximate timeline we are looking at foreign passengers using Digi Yatra?
Yeah, it's a just a guess which I can take maybe a year. Year is what it will take to get everything ironed out, but it will not happen one shot, right? It will perhaps start with, say, foreign citizens using it for domestic travel, right? Meaning electronic passport based enrollment, and go through foreign citizens using the Digiyatra credentials for domestic travel, right? It could start with that. And then maybe with with countries where we do not have very stringent passport control, it could start with those on an end-to-end seamless travel. And then, of course, the more difficult ones where there are too many restrictions, perhaps those could be taken up. So it is going to be a graduated sort of a journey. It cannot be an one shot sort of an outcome.
You've talked about integrating partner apps, airlines, and OTAs to streamline boarding pass sharing. What role do these partnerships play in making Digi Yatra the travel stack of the country?
So, as I told you right from the start, what we have been focused on is customer and customer experience, right? How do we take away a pain point from the customer, right? And sharing this boarding pass, like you go to the airline website or the app, check in, get a boarding pass, save the PDF, and then come back to the DigiYatra app, pick the PDF and share it to the verifier airport, right? Why do you need to do these two, three steps, right? So what we have done is we have worked with airlines and also some of the online travel aggregators. So Make My Trip, Indigo, and Air India. These are already ready and live. What you can basically do is from these apps, if you completed your check-in and you got your boarding pass, as soon as you get your boarding pass, you get two options, right? Which is save the boarding pass to this device or send it to your email, right? These are the two options you get. So you get another option, which is share to DigiYatra. And we have an app intent. Their app and our app is at the back end connected in a way. And as soon as you click that button, share to DigiYatra, it invokes the DigiYatra app. And like you do the UPI transaction, right? From any app, if you want to make a payment through UPI, the Google Pay or the other any other pay, Bhim Pay or whatever phone pay gets triggered, and then you make the payment. So same way, the Digiyatra app gets triggered, and then you reach the same point where you have to share the credentials. So it's an easy and a convenient way. Apart from this, we are also trying to work with the airports because the airports have a lot of services which they offer to passengers. And again, going back to the customer, right? A customer may need a wheelchair, a customer may need some other service at the airport. And today, perhaps they do not know how to fetch that service. They might have to go to a website, they might have to go to a particular number, call that number, etc., etc. So we want to bring those services also to the Digiyatra app. So if you are in Bangalore and you click on airport services, it will trigger the Bangalore airport services, right? Automatically. And then you can subscribe to those services, buy those services, and similarly for any other airport as well. So this is also something which we feel will add value to your journey, and that's why we want to do it. And there's nothing that we will do on the app which will not have value for the passenger, right? In their journey, we should add a value and only then we will do it.
So, what I'm hearing from you is becoming a travel super app for the country. You'd like to include different services for a passenger. What I also wanted to know from you, Suresh, is let's imagine I've reached the airport within 5 to 10 seconds, I've entered the airport. Then, similarly, I'm able to clear the first security touch point, the document check before the actual security relatively quickly with my DigiYatra credentials. But when I reach the boarding gate, I'm still asked for my ticket. Is there a time in the near future when DigiYatra boarding gates can also be installed, which would make my entire airport journey as seamless as possible?
So that's how it is supposed to work, right? And at the boarding gate also, these gates you'll see at many airports we have the Digiyatra gates, and there are some reasons where it's not being used. And what we are now trying to do is we are trying to work with both the airports and the airlines to ensure that they are optimally used so that Digiyatra gates also get used for boarding. So that's something which is already work in progress, and hopefully in the next few months you should be able to see uh, an enhancement in the use of Digiyatra boarding gates also.
Why aren't they being used right now? What reservations are we seeing?
Some technical challenges, and what we have done is we have done the survey, and we have already submitted a report. Right, what we do is whenever there are issues, we sit together, discuss these issues, find out solutions, and then ensure that these get ironed out. So that's something which will happen over the next few months, I would say.
All right. Processing times at entry gates have dropped from 15 seconds to just 5 seconds. Beyond that, beyond the time savings, what other operational benefits are airports seeing? How is this changing the fundamental economics of airport operations in India?
So first and foremost, right, to the passenger, if you really were to look at it, it's a convenient process. It reduces so much of your stress. You are actually in a happier frame of mind when you reach the boarding gates, and many a times relaxed and relieved that you did not miss your flight. And this I've heard from so many people, right? So I think one of the most important aspects, apart from the time saving that you see, it's about the air travel. If you really look at it earlier, air travel used to be like, okay, you need to. It was something which was stressful, right? People used to actually prepare a lot and be worried, right, about the whole air travel. What if something goes wrong, etc., etc. But that part of the story is now ironed out already, meaning that you can actually walk through or breeze through all the checkpoints and reach your boarding gate in time. And that I think is one of the biggest benefits. So happiness, if you were to measure the happiness quotient of a Digi vis-a-vis a happiness quotient of a non-Digi, right, you will see a stark difference. And that is something I believe is a great value that we have added to the passenger's journey.
And what about the economic upside for airports, for airlines, for ancillary services? Do you see anything there?
So they say that a happier passenger spends, right, and maybe if you have some time at hand and if you're in a happier frame of mind, maybe you would want to have that cup of coffee. And I can give you one example, which is like I remember it very well. And this was in London airport when I was returning back to Bangalore, and actually, I generally travel pretty early. I was well prepared, but I did not prepare myself for the delay in checking in my baggage. I took almost 1.5 hours. There were some issues, and it took almost an hour and a half for me to check in my baggage. Long queue. And finally, when I reached close to boarding gate, I had 45 minutes, but I was so stressed. I generally do that last minute shopping, right? Buying something or the other for friends and family. I did not do any of those shopping. I did not even have my coffee. I just went, found my boarding gate, and you know, just sat down and relaxed. So you can imagine, right? I mean, stress can actually do that. So this is what I think is one of the benefits of Digiyatra, which is it relieves you of your stress from the journey, and hopefully, you'll at least buy that coffee.
Well, I hope you get your coffee next time at Heathrow or Gatwick or wherever your travels take you, Suresh. I've read how Digiyatra aims to extend beyond airports. What other segments of the travel industry do you envision adapting the single token model next?
So see, the hard work has already been done, which is creation of the credential. Now, if you can share it for air travel, right? I mean, highly secure sort of a airport, right? You can still go through, enter with Digiyatra. So obviously, I felt that with this heavy lifting that has already been done, why can't the credential be used for any other place where there is an identity validation need? And it could be that you land at a particular airport and immediately go to the hotel check-in, right? And hotel check-in also takes time. Apart from the booking details, they have a lot of processes to do, which is to collect your identity card. They take a photocopy of it, or they take a photo on their phone, etc., etc., which is not a privacy-preserving way of collecting identity. You never know where it could get misused. So why not have a Digiyatra like credential used? So that's something which obviously we feel is a logical progression. And you could obviously see us in these domains as well, where we make your entire end-to-end travel seamless.
So, are you already in touch with some government departments to make that happen?
So we have begun those initial discussions, and this will obviously require a lot of policy changes as well, meaning that Digiyata credential need to get accepted for a hotel check-in, for example, right? There will be a policy change that will be required. So these aspects are being taken up already. Early stages of discussions have begun.
AI driven features like multilingual chatbots and anti spoofing are on your roadmap. How will these enhancements improve onboarding and in flight support for travelers, Suresh?
So one of the things that we have started in beta is to have an AI chatbot to respond to your queries. Many people have a lot of queries about Digiyatra, and they would want answers. And that is something which we felt, we could do with the help of AI. And you will find it also on the app later on once. And hopefully it helps you to understand how we sort of manage the credentials, how credentials are created, and any other doubt that you have in your mind, right? So certainly, yes, I think that is something which we feel AI will add great value.
Looking ahead to the next 5 years, what's your vision for Digi Yatra's role in India's broader digital infrastructure? Perhaps linking rail, road, or hospitality sectors? What kind of a timeline you have in mind for that?
So I cannot define a timeline, but what I can say is that we will make the credential accessible, right? From the phone, if you are able to share your credential directly, then anybody could use it, right? And what we want to do is we want to create a sandbox environment for others to do testing for their use case, right? And it could be for hotel identity validation. It could be for maybe an identity validation at an IT park. And once this test is completed, they can come to us and they can become a verifier.
For our listeners who are frequent flyers and aviation enthusiasts, what's the most exciting development in Digi Yatra's roadmap that they should watch out for in the coming year?
Yeah, so the Prime Minister's vision, bold vision of Uday Desh Ka Aam Nagarik is certainly there. He wants to see the common man fly, right? And we are an enabler to to that journey. And what we felt was, so I was some time back I was watching this YouTube video. A Digi had put up this YouTube video, and a simpleton from I'm not sure of the place, but a simpleton who was wearing a chappal was wearing chappals and had a gamcha, and he had a friend shooting this video. He was going through all the Digiyatra touch points, and what he was saying was, "चप्पल और गमछे में महाराजा की सवारी डिजियात्रा के साथ." Right? And he would move through the touch point and tell this a few times, right? And this triggered some sort of a thought process in my mind that our app is only available in English, and why should it be so, right? India is a diverse country with 22 officially recognized languages. And why should I build a barrier of language, to my Digiyatris? So now what we have done is in the next few weeks or even maybe earlier, we would be launching this app in 6 languages. Uh, and six languages, and then eventually we'll roll out the remaining languages as well. So totally 22 plus English. So 23 languages is what Digiyatra will be available. And then of course, as we start our global other international languages as well. But the whole point here is removing that language barrier is something which we feel will add value to every user and remove that barrier. And that is one feature that we certainly feel will be much appreciated by our users. The other is the creation of a borderless world, I would say. So with the electronic passport based enrollment, what will happen is foreign citizens can use Digiyatra for domestic travels to start with. And similarly, it could also be used for international travel, right? So in the end, what will happen is there are countries like, for example, Europe. If you were to look at Europe, they have EUDI, which is European Union Digital Identity, which also has a similar sort of a framework, which works on self-sovereign identity with a universal wallet, etc. They also will issue their own citizens their credentials. And once those credentials are readily available, what will happen is that Digiyatra credentials can be shared to EU, and EU credentials can be shared to India. And in that way, what will happen is we are actually breaking all the borders and we are creating a borderless world, right? Or a borderless economy. So that is the vision that we have, which we feel will actually break down these barriers across the world and create a borderless world, at least for air travel to start with, right? And the other thing that I would say is something to watch out would be we want to start a Digiyatra fan club, and this is something which we've been thinking since a long time. There are many supporters of Digiyatra. Earlier, whenever there used to be some negative messaging on the social media, we had to, our team has to sort of respond and all that. Now, actually, I don't have to do, because I got so many of my Digi Yatra ambassadors who actually began to explain, right, to these people, clarifying, how the ecosystem works, etc. So we want to have a Digiyatra fan club where we will have Digiyatra ambassadors. We'll have regular meetings and we'll take feedback from them as to what we need to do to improve this whole service. Uh, and apart from that, maybe you will find an avatar on Digiyatra app which will assist you.
When do you see coordination of EUDI and Digiyatra, speaking to each other? Is there a time frame you have in mind for that?
No, I wouldn't be able to hazard a guess on that, because their ecosystem also needs to be ready. And apart from the technology piece, there has to be also some sort of at a national level, also some sort of a bilateral agreement and all that. So we will have to work towards it. It will certainly happen very soon. Yeah, but we'll have to work towards it.
Suresh, thank you so much for taking the time out and chatting with us. It's been wonderful. Wonderful knowing all of the new information and the explanation of the technology that you have given us today.
Thank you, Vishal, and was very happy talking to you. And yeah, towards more seamless journeys.
As we wrap up, one thing is clear: Suresh Khadakbhavi is not just reimagining air travel, he's rewriting the passenger experience playbook. Thank you, Suresh, for giving us a peek into tomorrow's airports today. And to listeners, next time you breeze past a check in counter with just your face, you'll know who to thank. Next Sunday, the Indian Ad Geeks episode 11 will have another special guest, someone fitting for a Diwali week special episode. For now, don't forget to subscribe and share this episode of the Indian App Geek with your fellow app geeks. Suresh is not active on X, but you can follow him on LinkedIn and you will find me everywhere as Vishal Van Mehra. Happy to have your feedback. With that, keep your tray tables up, your seatbelts fastened, and your diyas lit. I wish you well and happy Diwali, my friends!